ultimately, again, what they were great at is delivering the Messiah and delivering the Scriptures. Probably two of the great purposes for which God set the nation aside. So, Mount Sinai. And so, and by the way, I was thinking today, in terms of story, you know how, again, great stories have these ups and these downs and these highs and these lows. And literally, that literally happens at Mount Sinai. I mean, they come to the foot of the mountain, and Moses goes up, all right, and he gets the 10 Commandments, and he comes down, and, you know, everybody's already engaging in idolatry, and he breaks the tablets of the law, so he's been up, he's been down, and what does he do? He goes back up, and he gets another set, and he comes back down. I mean, it almost as if visually you're seeing what emotionally is taking place, and just in terms of sort of the ebbs and flows and ups and downs of the story and the emotion of the story. Well, finally, it takes them a year and 2 months there at Sinai to get all of this put together. And at the end of the second month of the second year, this cloud by day and pillar of fire by night that had been guiding them and has just sat there at Mount Sinai moves. And it's the sign to them, we're heading off. We're going to go take the land. And so sort of the next subplot that takes place from Sinai is the subplot of wandering. Now, the first part of wandering is that as they have been told, they leave Sinai, whether it's here, whatever, and they come right up to a spot called Kadesh Barnea, which is on the southern boundary of the land that's been promised to them. And from there, they send 12 spies into the land. Now, by the way, the journey from Sinai to Kadesh Barnea, the journey from Sinai into the Promised Land takes 14 days. It's going to take Israel 40 years to get in. But physically, it takes 14 days. And from there, they send spies into the land to spy it out. 12 spies, one spy from each of the 12 tribes of Israel. And those spies go in, and they come back, and there's two reports given. The majority report is this: it's a great place, just like God said, but there are giants in there. There's giants, and in their eyes, we look like grasshoppers. And basically they say, let's not go. And then there's the minority report, which come from two guys, a guy by the name of Joshua and a guy by the name of Caleb. And Joshua and Caleb say, absolutely, there are giants in there, but God said He would deliver the land to us. Let's go. And the nation believes the majority report and basically decide not to enter in, and the result is that they're going to spend the next 40 years wandering around out in the boonies here of the Holy Land. And here's why 40 years. Because the minority report and the response to it is, hey, if we go in there, they're going to kill our kids. All of our children will die. We're just going to get wiped out. And what God says is, you know what? I'm going to have them wander around out there in the wilderness till every man 20 years of age and older dies, and I'm going to let their kids go in and possess the land. And there's only two guys that were above the age of 20 or 21 that ever make it into the land. You know who they are? Joshua and Caleb. And so for 40 years, we have this wandering out there in the wilderness. So until finally, at the end of 40 years, and by the way, that's all contained in the book of Numbers. And just sort of as an aside, the reason the book of Numbers is called Numbers is because at the beginning of the book, they take a census. They count the people. There's a numbering. And generally, what that numbering says is that there are 600,000 plus men, because that's what they count, the fighting men, which tells us that with women and children that roughly, this is a group of roughly 3 million people. And then when they get back up at the end of the book of Numbers, and as they're positioned now, clear up here on the east bank of the Jordan River, ready to go in to the land from this angle, they count again the number of men of that age and older, fighting age, and again, roughly, you've got the same number, right around 600,000, but it's a new generation. And by the way, in the same way that Leviticus sort of hangs on the spine at Mount Sinai, okay, because that's where all of the rules and the laws and everything are given, but it's not pushing the narrative forward, the same thing happens now when they get to the east bank of the Jordan River, ready to go in and possess it. You got a new generation. And we're going to see this over and over again in Scripture. We know it. Every one of us in the room that's got kids know it. One of the toughest tasks we have is passing the baton to the next generation. That the values and the things that we hold dear, how do we impart that to the next generation? So you've got a generation that were kids back when God delivered the nation of Israel. And so to instill those values and those promises and those principles into a new generation, the law is given for a second time. Now, in Greek, deutero means second, and nomos means law. Deuteronomy is the second giving of the law. And it takes place here contextually within the story flow of the book of Numbers. You can hang that one on the spine. And so by the time the end of the wandering, we've got the nation now back to the border on the east bank of the Jordan, law given again, and a huge transition is about to take place that moves us into the next scene.